Welcome to another edition of What's Next in Finance and Banking, and it's a great pleasure to welcome the FNB CEO, one of South Africa's biggest banks, Jacques Celliers. It's so good to see you, Jacques, and good to see you in good health under these very difficult circumstances. I mean, it's been challenging, COVID-19. How have you been personally, and how's it affected you personally? I imagine you've been working completely remotely.
Yeah, Aki, thank you very much for the time. It's always a pleasure spending a bit of time with you, and compliments on your show that you're putting together.
Thank you.
We've had like an incredible year. I mean, I'm conscious that there is a lot of people out there that's had an incredibly traumatic experience. Both at personal health or family health, or or friends and families. Also financially, many people are struggling out there, but it's intellectually, it's been an incredible journey and experience for us all. We've found ways to make magic to try and keep the lights on. As you know, we went into essential services, and for a long time of that essential service, I mean, even the medicine industry sector wasn't really busy, but the banks and the financial sector, and I guess a number of the other essential services around the country had like a nightmare to make sure that we delivered the service that we needed to do under that essential service mandate. So it's been a wow year.
Yeah, I mean, Jacques, I look at your bank, and there's so many different layers to your bank. You've got people, support staff, you've got people managing servers, you've got bank tellers. It's really quite complicated. And in the back end, you've got all this technology happening at the same time. How's the bank been operating during COVID-19? I imagine a lot of your frontline staff have had to make sure that the lights are on, but most of your staff must be working remotely like you are.
Yeah, so Aki, I think fortunately we've had a number of years of this new way of work agenda, where we try to get people to be able to work remotely, where the business allows you to do. I mean, the days of being confined to specific office spaces, as you know, is one of those things that the world is moving away from, so that people have more optionality to work from different places, and we can access skills. Someone lives in Cape Town, we can access skills, or Durban or Joburg, or even globally. Nowadays we're an organization that operates across the whole continent. We might have some talent elsewhere to help us with something that we're busy with. But what I'm excited about is that from all angles, our teams, we're a people's business. Yes. And ultimately we must make sure our people are productive. So we had frontline people who kept the doors open. They are the real frontline, made magic out there. And then linked to that, we had people who kept the service up and running from their couches at home. And so there's been from all fronts just an incredible contribution, and I'm really, really proud of the teams all over. Our cash centers, I went to visit them yesterday. They breaking records every day of producing and counting cash, and all of these elements of a financial sector which people don't always know, that yes, behind the scenes need to keep running, right? And so against this wave of health risk, of fear in the system, our teams have just been incredible.
You just talk about cash services, you just take it for granted, but you actually don't realize in the background that, there are people that need to make it happen, and there is retail that's still transacting, etc. And ATMs need to be filled up with money. It's a lot of complex stuff happening in the background with us realizing. But the bank itself, you've won numerous accolades in terms of your innovation that FNB has bought. What you can do on an app today versus what you could do in the banking platform, say 20 years ago, even 15 years ago, it's astonishing. And I think that, if it weren't for these things and the flexibility of the app, I don't know how people would be transacting today. So well done to you guys for innovating. But is this driving anything different from your customers, your personal customers, your business customers? Is COVID-19 changing any of those dynamics on how people bank in this modern world that we're living in?
Yeah, I think that's the exciting part. We've been going now, Aki, for 180 years.
Wow.
And actually 182 this year. And
you don't look like is that you look a lot younger, Jacques.
Yeah. I wasn't there for the early days of the mistakes people made, but But I mean, imagine having to go through this type of challenge when there was no way of doing electronic communication. Think about just trying to run an organization through a war times or stuff where so much physical presence was needed for production, right? And so we are grateful that at least during this challenging time, we've had such cool tools, and as our timeless purpose of being helpful and across financial services, which is clearly our mandate, even into insurances and investments. The tools today allow us to do so much more and so much more efficiently than we used to be able to do with old tools. Now, what's great about this phase that we're in, and you talk about our new things and our things we're launching, is we are truly converting from an old way of doing financial services into a new way. And the best way I can explain this is I use 3 or 4 examples in the organization when we do our roadshows, is that I think for another 180 years we will be doing banking, right? And we will be giving people financial advice, because ultimately, people are always vulnerable with their finances. There's always moments that something's happen. Either start a business or I close a business, or I start working or I retire. And these moments are different. Each person's got an individual context. Every business has got an individual context. And so in the same way that platforms around us are able to give you a playlist like Spotify for your specific, sort of mood of the day, or the context within which they offer you sort of music. These are incredible tools to use. Now, so if I just say, like, there's a different way of retailing. The traditional retailer says, come to our store. Our retail distribution model nowadays says, log on. And contextually, we use services. In many ways, the same way that Amazon is different than a traditional retailer. Same with advice. I mean, you still go to a library for advice. I mean, we all go to Google for advice.
That's right.
So these ways, or taxi services, the traditional way of hailing a cab versus just logging onto Uber and getting a perfect service contextually to your doorstep, and you don't have to explain people where you live and email them a phone number or send them a picture of yourself. All of this contained in the platform. So we're excited about this journey. And what's obviously nice now is that many of the things we were busy with, it's just been given such a steroid injection, right? It's like many people who were resisting these tools have now obviously had no option. Many employees actually who were still resisting some of the adjustments onto platform. I mean, as an example, at a personal level, I haven't had a printer. In fact, I can't. If I press print on my laptop, it doesn't go anywhere. I can't press print.
You don't have a printer at home.
Yeah, I just don't have printers. My assistant and I mean, she hasn't been in our offices for better part of 3 years. We haven't worked. I haven't had an office or a desk and so these adjustments to the way of work, the tool sets that allows us to work from anywhere. When we went into lockdown, the next day we were 100% functional operationally, because we have been working so hard on these work from home topics. In some environments, it's still a bit of a challenge, obviously, especially where connectivity is a challenge. Some of our African markets don't have this rich data networks we have here. And obviously also with electricity constraints, some of the Eskom impacts here and there, then we have to go to more stable electricity, which typically are on our campuses. But the tools are incredible, and the data that we have and the ability to give help where we need to help. I mean, our COVID relief mechanisms. In the old days, people would have had to, go queue at a branch or hang on for 30 minutes or 40 minutes on a call to apply for a COVID, sort of loan. We were able to activate those on our platform, and people can just click and get straight through processing applications, So, just operationally, it's just been such an exciting time for us as a business.
I mean, Jacques, it's fascinating to see how everything's been accelerated. And everyone talks about this massive thing that, hey, we need to do things a lot faster now and get to this point. But I imagine that the world of finance and banking is changing even faster. I mean, we hear a lot about Fintech, and of course, you as a bank have been innovating, and you've, playing around in this space as well and doing all sorts of things. This technology transformation that you talk about and the innovation that you've actually spurred on, what about the next phase after that? Is it creating a lot of opportunities that you didn't realize were existed? And how is something like fintech, for example, impacting banking?
Yeah, Aki, I mean, every now and again, people get carried away with, I guess, buzzwords, and you can do
Yes.
those. I mean, if you just sit back and you say, what are the frustrations in finance and how can we solve them? I'll give you a quick example. Many people out there are very vulnerable to fraud right now, right? So
Yes. Yes.
it's, we all know that probably the most untrusted mechanism of communicating is email.
Right.
And email on its own, although it's very efficient and it's nice, but I mean, we know many of us have been exposed to or affected by intercepts of emails, people, and then, besides the fact that spams and marketing and all that sort of irritations, there's real financial losses for people where, their invoices get intercepted or their credentials get compromised through their mechanisms of email. And so one of the cool things we're working on is platform-based communication. And when you have platform-based communication, you're able to do all the AI and deep linking. And a stupid example would be if I send you a smart in contact for a transaction you did, you could report fraud on the transaction just by linking it through deep link through the smart message, as opposed to then for a phone number to call or another email to send or to go and stand in another queue. Our ability to respond to service elements, delivering communication, is an unbelievable thing. Another example is just the way that legal contracts are constructed. I mean, we're all frustrated with these 50 pages of this and 20 pages of that, and then some, and with platform-based relationship agreements, in very much the same way as, you don't have to sign up to Uber every time you hail a cab, right?
Yes, yes.
They got your profile, you log in, and you just apply for another trip. If you compare that to some of the other car rental experiences, every time you go there, it's almost like they have to sign up again. You have to give your credentials again and show your driver's license again, and so it's all this complexity and frustration that's tied in communication and legals are innovative spaces where we, at a customer level, really trying to contract and build our trust, right? So that you get this experience. I mean, it's these big like Amazon's sort of trust that's built onto, doesn't matter what product you've got. They've got, 300 million products, Yes. It's that ability to contextually offer that to customers, In our world, there's just so many ways to invest money. I mean, we've got like much more complex product range than what Amazon would ever have in financial services. And how do you simplify that for the most basic question by some person in the most remote rural village, that you contextualize and you bring some specific need, answers to that need. So these innovations are leveraging these new data sets and tool sets. We have a pipeline of stuff to do. It'll keep us busy for the next, decade of bringing more innovation to the market. So we're very excited about the time we live in, and very excited about the fact that we have a tool set and a strategy that's appropriate for the challenge of the time. We did not configure ourselves for a physical only. We don't have clashes with our distribution models between, many companies are still battling with how does online compete with branch, or how does, these things we're very well configured for the next phase. And we look forward to the season actually changing, this negativity and the sadness and stuff. We hope that as the seasons change, there's also a nice little spring vibe in the market that brings growth, and it brings, some markets, and then we must be there for that. So big job ahead, but exciting journey.
Well, you talk about the market, you talk about the mood out there, and certainly the mood in South Africa is that we're in trouble financially, and the economy is in a bit of a recession, not in a bit, in a huge recession at the moment, the effects of COVID, but it wasn't COVID that's caused this. I think this COVID just accelerated it even more. But Jacques, as a country, you must be concerned as a bank. We still haven't felt the effect yet of the retrenchments, the job losses, people not affording homes, for example, the retail sector not performing like it should. The economy's in a mess. As a banker, what do you think we need to do, and how much of a mess are we in? Can we get out of this mess is my question.
Yeah, I mean, Aki, I think like one of the nice things is when you people always say, if you're in trouble, have you admitted it yet? And I think as a country, we certainly are facing that music. I mean, there's no denial out there anymore. People aren't, yeah, but it isn't actually like this, and it isn't actually like that. I mean, we can say it like it is, right? There's some real issues, which is always a good place from which to start. The second thing I think is that there are a lot of good levers to build the next few years on. One of the good levers clearly is a low interest rate. I mean, it's hard to respond to things when it's hard to get money, and it's expensive to borrow money, and so fortunately we can at a global level. I mean, the interest rates as a lever to get access to capital to get stuff done will be well priced, and it'll come at it will be incentivized to do things, incentivized to grow, incentivized to expand and to build and to do cool things. So that's another one. The other nice thing is, I guess one can say that there's a realization that we're going to have to find a different model, right? This old traditional way of everyone doing their own thing, it's going to have to be together. We're going to have to dig deep. There's going to be very little help from the rest of the world. They all have their own problems. And when you look at big organizations like ours, I mean, 180 years, we can't go anywhere. I mean, FNB can't immigrate. We can't take our passport and say, let's leave. There's a better place elsewhere. We have to make it work here. It's us and our next generations. And there's nothing wrong with going through these deep things. I mean, people went through the Second World Wars, and you get previous, but it's tough to recover from them. I think the plea would be is that we must do so honorably. There's lots of unnecessary complications we give ourselves because of bad actors, but I think that will hopefully get direction to play itself out. It's clear that we can't tackle the challenges when not trust each other. Yes. I mean, there has to be a lot of trust in the system for that. So we've got our role to play as a bank. I mean, fortunately, FNB has always had this helpfulness theme. We're not perfect. We make many mistakes, and we're going to try our best to play our part. But there's going to be quite a tough journey ahead. What I can say is that we are applying a very sophisticated model to this. The old ways of tackling challenges were sort of spray and spray, and you sort of all over the show. You don't quite know, but with the tool sets we have now, as an example, we can spot transactional activity per business, per customer, per little region. There's just so many new tools that we can be deliberate about where we help. So as an example, if you'd say, help a province, then where do you start helping? Don't throw your money around things that will take time to recover. Maybe go start the businesses to help them that will come off the ground first. So there's scarcity of resource. There must be a very targeted approach to stimulating growth and stimulating employment again. But it's going to be a long journey. Cycles also have the way to get sort of work out let's call it the fly-by-night activities. So every town has got 20 hairdressers in good times. There's work for everyone in tough times. Some make it. In the fullness of time, you'll see all of the solid businesses will obviously start focusing and surviving first, and then as the markets develop again, we'll see more participants in each of the markets. But as you say, it's going to be quite a tough time. But we must keep our spirits up. We're a rainbow nation. We owe it to ourselves to lift the spirits. There was always a lot of dream for this country to get ourselves right. We're in a bit of a slump at the moment. But I think in 10 years' time, when you look at this, then we will all have the T-shirt that said, I was there, right? Yeah. You're going to have the T-shirt, we're all going to have that T-shirt, but it's going to be hard work, roll up our sleeves, get our hands dirty, no handouts. And if everyone does their bit, then we can get it.
Jacques, your optimism is just fantastic and so refreshing to hear. My final question to you is, I mean, this has been an extraordinary time for all of us. I mean, we never expected this. We are in a situation that it's completely unusual for all of us. What's been your aha moment in this period of lockdown where you can't move, you're stuck and you're confined to your space? You might not have your printer there, but you're operating efficiently. Have you, as a CEO of one of South Africa's biggest banks, a business leader in our country, what's been your aha moment, whether it be personal or in business? Is there something that stands out for you, Jacques Celliers?
Our aha moment for me personally was just this realization that work life can be so much more balanced with personal life. I mean, none of us. I don't know of you, but I never had time at my house. I mean, I left in the dark and I arrived back in the dark, and I hardly saw my family ever. I think there was a time where that way of work of being in the office and almost like the clock book and timesheets were valued more than contribution, right? And I think this opportunity that this has opened up for people who live in different places. I think for gender, for single parents, for skill sets that are mobile. This has been an unbelievable, sort of stimulation for that way of work, a new way of living, a more balanced way, and at the same time delivering magic, so that so someone lives in Pretoria doesn't have to drive to Bank City instead of Joburg anymore to be productive, so I think the environment is going to benefit a lot from that as well, and I think the innovation that this will stimulate and skill sets. I think it's just been an unbelievable, kickstart to a new way of work. You guys in the media industry, you've had to work this way for years now, because your form factor called the newspaper was taken away from you like a long time ago. And you've been probably at the forefront of disruption, and many other industries thought that no, it won't happen to them. I mean, this new way of work and be able to productive, from anywhere, has really gotten a proper boost. So that's really the aha moment, is what we thought was going to happen and is possible has properly been proven possible.
Well, I mean, you're the kind of person that lives the culture, and FNB has got a fantastic culture. And I know that you work remotely, but I've watched you in your offices at Bank City, and you walk around, you high five people, and that's who you are. That's who the bank is. You must miss that so much, though, because that company culture you can't replicate working remotely.
Yeah, I said it just now. We're a people's business. So we can be effective with these sort of meetings, but we miss the team spirit. There's very few things more special than walking onto a floor and you see a buzz and a vibe, and people are working through the nights if that's what it takes. I mean, if you're still a business that relies on your filing cabinet at the office or your printer at the office, or I'm hate to think that someone has still got a fax machine. So these things we've moved on, Aki. We've moved on, and we're gonna bank this. We're not gonna go back to the old ways. We're gonna move forward.
Jacques Celliers, such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. We wish you well. We wish your organization, FNB, every success into the future. And may you continue to live on for another 200 years. It's a big celebration that's coming up, by the way. In 200 years is not too long away from now. But Jacques, thank you for your time. Wishing you good health and every success. And thank you for your insights.
Thank you very much, Aki.
Okay, Jacques, thank you very much.